Yo, what's up everyone? It's Pixie and I'm feeling like a little bit of a roast, and not like in a mean way. I just felt really drawn to do a pick a card reading about the relationship dynamics that you might be experiencing right now, but also through a lens of like, where are you effing up right now? How are you effing up right now? What's really going on in your mind? And most importantly, how to get better, how to improve at this thing. And I think this is going to highlight some deeper relational issues that you might have been experiencing recently. And we're going to look at how your mindset might be a little bit, I don't know, man, just kind of like not the best that it could be. And this is all with, love. And if this is a little bit too brutal, then just cross it off. There is no need for you to put yourself through any kind of like suffering. This is very much like a video for people who really like to do that type of shadow work on themselves and just be real. Just be real with yourself. Be real with where you're at. I think sometimes we can be afraid to really confront the truth of what's going on in our lives and the dynamics that are taking place in our lives. So it's important to take a brain check on those things and just take a good, honest look and find where we can do better, especially with the help of spirit, because we can self-reflect and we can get these types of answers from our own intuition. But sometimes I think mainstream society definitely tries to like steer us into, egg you on to, oh, just cut that person off, they're toxic. And like that, they're not actually toxic. They might have just asked for space, or maybe they tried to help you with something, but they didn't communicate it the best. There are so many different situations that they're just way more complicated than sometimes I think we want to admit. And I think it's really good to get the divine involved or spirit involved with actually helping us to move and find a path that is authentic for us to take within it. So if you found this video, hi. If you're new here, hi. My name's Pixie or Lucy. I am a psychic intuitive and astrologer. I actually run a Twitch community and a Discord server with just really cool, chill, genuine people. We're full of gamers and shadow workers and people who are just into spirituality. We're not super into witchcraft, but you'll find a few witches here and there, but it's not like, I'm definitely not an expert in that area. But what I would say I've kind of spent my talent points in is astrology and being a psychic intuitive and just generally getting a good understanding of people's shadows and how to go about tackling different things. So if you like my vibe, if you like the energy, then you can go click on those links below. Can't speak. It's Mercury retrograde. God damn it. And if the video does resonate, don't hesitate to subscribe, leave a like, and let me know as well what hit hardest for you. If you're a returning subscriber, hey, I appreciate you checking out this video. I hope it serves you well. All of the timestamps for the different piles and their messages will be put down below. If you're new to pick a cards and you don't know how they work, basically each pile, and right now it's just each card is going to represent a different avenue of messages, kind of like choosing a different door to go down to hear a specific thing that's meant to be for you. The idea is that you intuitively feel drawn to the right pile, and from that pile that is then yours, that is then it has messages for you. I would say, not because this is a general reading and there might be a lot of people that choose one pile or the same pile. Y'all might be experiencing similar themes that we cover, but not every single message it might be for you. So please just kind of like take note of what resonates. I would say as well, if you're new to shadow work, if you are familiar or sense like the feeling of intense resistance, try to sit with that and ask yourself, why is this so intense for me? Why am I resisting this so much? Is there an idea in my mind maybe even about me, as to like, is this something you hold in your mind or your ego, whatever you want to call it, that is preventing you from being able to absorb this message from spirit? Is there a bias, or is there, you know, a hurt? Are you trying to defend a part of you that's hurt? And that's all valid. And you can do, you know, a little bit of breath work, a little bit of, you know, and kind of just intentionally just kind of trying to set that to the side so you can let what wants to come through. You might have to come back to this a few times. It depends on where you're at as a person and where you're at on your journey. But I do hope that, and I would prefer this video to attract people who are like into shadow work like I am. But you know, yeah, if you do have a hard time with this, don't worry. That doesn't make you a bad person. Doesn't make me a bad person. It's just an incompatibility. But you can learn a lot from that energy. And actually, one of my profoundest moments, and many profound moments, have come from when I've actually lent in further to resistance. Don't know why I want to share that, but I guess that's coming through. All right, guys, enjoy the rest of the video. Thank you again for your time. And if you want to check out more of my content, you can also go sub on Patreon. All right, see you in a bit. Bye. All right, so this is gonna be for pile 1. I've pre-shuffled these cards already. I kind of wish that I did it live, because some of the messages that were coming through was like, oh my God, like you can't make it up how they weave together. But I'll go through things bit by bit. All of the decks that I've used will be linked. I don't know if they'll be linked down below. I'm a little bit lazy. They'll at least be named down below. It's Mercury retrograde. It's the season. All right. I'm lazy. Hi. So your main theme card is the yellow bird. And I feel that for you guys, like you've walked away from a good friendship. You've walked away from, or drifted away, allowed yourself to drift away from an actually like pretty loving relationship. And the thing is though, you still hold well wishes. You don't hold resentment towards this person. You do not hate them. You do not dislike them. And sometimes I think in your own life, you can see that as like a benchmark of whether you're a good person or not. Like you're still thinking it's okay that you walked away from this person, or that you haven't been as attentive to this person. I actually genuinely think there has been some kind of conscious level of decision. It could be more subconscious, but it definitely feels like there's this, even if it's a small conscious decision of like, oh, this person doesn't really like belong in my life right now, or I'm not really attracted and drawn to this person right now. But actually, like, I feel like on the other side of this, you kind of know that you're not going to be coming back to this person, even though you can recognize that this person helped you a lot, that they were a really good part of your life, that, you know, you guys have like a lot of good memories, but you just don't feel that glue anymore. And you're like, oh, that's fine if I just bounce now. So the 2 cards I actually have in reverse here is you did not break me, and I want to tell you so many things. And I'm getting a message here that like this person that you're walking away from actually really helped to build you. Maybe in a time where you felt broken, or in a time where you were unsure or lost in your path. And even still, this person to this day wants to help to build you up. They actually want to help build you up, but there is something in you that's just like not attracted to this relationship anymore. And I think, this is more of an intuitive hit, is that you're not used to having friendships where you guys actually both help each other, and you regularly, and not even too regularly, because yo, introvert gang, but this is giving me the vibe that like you're not used to friendships where you guys maybe have like coffee catch-ups like every couple months, just to let each other know, you know, what's going on, what's new with you, where you're at. Because I think this friendship, maybe when it was first formed, or this person, this relationship when it was first formed, was during a time of you feeling lost in the woods kind of thing. Like there was a lot of uncertainty, or I don't know, like insecurity issues. You felt very isolated in the world, or maybe even feeling like people were against you. I feel like that type of energy, but you've really tried to outgrow that. You've really done a lot of healing work. You're feeling better about yourself. And I think this is also why you feel like you don't need this person in your life anymore. You don't feel like you need these people. If you're relating this to multiple people, and this is saying that like, this is kind of like not a good thing for you. And I don't think you'll realize this now, but I feel heavily your guides are like, yo, in the future, when you when you go through a down phase again, you won't be able to re-enter this friendship like you think you could. You don't think that you're gonna end up coming back to this, but trust me, when you're feeling down, when you're feeling lost, I do feel like there's a vibe of this where it's like this person's kind of like a soul, you know, like a I don't want to call it soul tribe, because I know tribe has a bit of it's like an indigenous term. It's one of my vocabulary that I'm trying to like ease out. So what's another word for like soul family, you know, where you feel like an intrinsic connection, a fated union that it really uplifts you, and it's just like you're just like, okay, we're done with that phase now. And this is and we've got more cards to kind of like flesh this out a little bit more, but I get a sense that maybe either you're doing well enough, or you felt like this other person is doing well enough without you, and your friendship with this person doesn't have to look like you always like struggling together or talking about your struggles together, because it almost feels like because this originally was in reverse. I want to tell you so many things. Like maybe you just feel like you don't have much to say to this person, but I do feel like there's a golden opportunity here for you to learn to connect with people in a different way, and respect and honor the friendship for what it was. And because you know that this person isn't like a drain on you. Like this is the thing, like this person is not like a drain on you. I think you feel drained if you feel like you have to play I don't want to call it play the relationship, but play the role that you've previously had in the relationship. This is actually an opportunity for you to update, but we're going to go into more advice about that later. We pulled some cards onto, you know, where's your head at when it comes to this situation. So we have the Chariot. This is moving on. I want to move forward. Okay, like my ride's here. It's ready to go. 9 of Coins. I'm focusing on my own thriving. And again, I think that's that sense as well of like, maybe you felt like the other person is doing well now and they don't need you anymore. So you're like, okay, all you know to do is kind of just like go to dip out. The thing is though, I feel like once you subconsciously decide to dip out, like you don't come back. And it's not because you don't want to, because you have the card of I wish you well, but actually when it actually comes to it, you actually, I think, have hurt this person. I actually think that they feel pretty hurt by what you've done. And I don't think you're going to be able to have that in. I think and even if this person would forgive you, I think you're also going to feel uncomfortable, because by the time you want to come back, you're going to have had way more perspective on like how you kind of fucked up. We have the Emperor. So yeah, this is like, assuming, I think there's been an attitude and an energy of you want to assume authority in your own life. You want to go in your own direction. You have things to take care of. You have things to nurture. You don't, you're in a phase in your life where like maybe you want a little bit more luxury, a little bit more time for yourself. And even again, I think this plays out in the other way of like, oh, like somebody doesn't need anybody in this connection, where it's like, oh, things are going well right now. I'm taking care of my health. I'm taking care of myself. I'm taking care of my finances. I'm taking care of my business. I've got a pay rise. They're getting their paychecks. They don't have any issues. They kind of have things under control. Therefore, it feels like, okay, it's reasonable to depart this relationship. One or more parties has everything under control. But then we have the Lovers in reverse, which just because like it's kind of a flawed way of having a relationship. It's just like, oh, like you have everything in your life sorted out. Okay, then like we're no longer friends. And I don't know if you realize that that's how you were connecting with people. And also I think it's I think there was also, because of this, you started to feel like the relationship was one-sided. Maybe you viewed them as someone who has all their stuff together, and then it's like, okay, like maybe it made you feel inadequate, or I do kind of get the sense that you guys in pile one, you guys are like helpers. Like you really enjoy helping people, sinking your teeth into people's lives, knowing that you are helping them, knowing that you are irreplaceable, knowing that you are needed. And I feel like you just didn't feel like you were needed anymore because this person started to do well. Or maybe, you know, on the flip side, it's like you started to do well, so you felt like you didn't need this person anymore. And then we have, okay, this is justice in reverse. Like, that's just not fair. That's not fair on the relationship. It's just not fair. And I think this is the vibe what I was getting as well with, like, in the future, when the scales tip again, like, this is you've not done the relationship justice. You've not done yourself justice. You've not done the experiences you guys have had together justice. I do feel like this is a maturing in here though, where you're learning to have relationships that don't need to be so tightly connected and like so involved. I feel like they have had to try to heal. I feel like they were grieving over you. They thought that you would, you know, you guys, because of what you've been through, that you guys would have, you know, or what you felt like you'd been through, you know, there's some grief, you know, there's some grief and disappointment. So they are taking their time to heal through this, so that I do feel like they do want to be able to be at peace with your situation or like relationship ending. They're taking time for themselves to heal. I think that if there was any expectation on your behalf of like, oh, well, if they wanted to keep our relationship, then they would have said something. I feel like they actually just retreated and was like, okay, I need to heal myself, like, and take care of myself, because I feel like they want to be okay with you going and doing your own thing. But I actually feel like the further they have reflected on this, the further they have like healed from this, they've actually realized that this sucked. And then we both know I am not the one for you. So I feel like as they've been healing, they've been realizing like, actually, like, that isn't okay. And how you've, you know, just I feel like ghosted is a word that's coming up too, like how you've ghosted this relationship. You have shown your incompatibility to this person. And then we have this person though does keep getting reminded of you. And they're having a really hard time letting you go. You don't know how hard it was to let you go. So many things remind me of you. So like they were still holding the relationship in like quite a high regard. And I do think maybe there's like mutual friends or like memories that are kind of local to them, or just around them. Like they keep getting reminded of you basically, whether it's like you shared a certain space, whether it's a digital space or a physical space. They do get reminded of you, you know, they do think about you. And the final card was like, you were the best thing in my life. So some of this could really go down to the core of like, this could be more on the romantic relationship side of things, of you were the best thing in their life. But I do feel that there was some really solid moments that you guys had, and some of their like possible like best memories or best sources of support, or, you know, just best moments of actually feeling connected with somebody was with you. And I'm not saying that this means that you owe them a relationship, because you don't owe anybody anything. But I do feel that if this is something that is mutually shared, if you can see yourself in these cards too, of that, you know, you can acknowledge that like this person did help build you up, and there was really good memories here. I would say, like, you know, is the issue really about your relationship, or is it about how you understand? Like, is it your understanding? Is it like an outdated, do you have like an outdated relationship model, you know, when it comes to your friendships? Because I do feel that like in the long-term future, you know, your life isn't always going to be as sweet or as busy. That's what I'm hearing. Your life isn't always going to be as sweet or as busy as it is right now. And when it settles down, when the tide comes in, when you're searching for purpose, when you're searching for meaning, when you're looking for fulfilling connection, you're going to think about this person, and I do think you'll feel regret. And I feel like, you know, if you've ended up on this pile, like, I feel like this wants to come out as like, it doesn't have to be this way. It does not have to be this way. So I do have some advice cards about how pile 1, you guys can like help this right now. So we have the miser. So this is the 4 of coins. And this is saying like being mindful of how you hoard your time and your possessions and your energy. Like, I kind of get this impression. So I kind of, when I said earlier, like, you don't owe them anything, like, I felt an energy of like, oh, like da 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 da, and it's like defensive. And I think it's coming from this, where like you're operating under the impression that you don't have enough time, love, energy, resources, space to tend to this relationship. But the person on the other side of this relationship isn't actually demanding or asking that of you, but you're responding to that person like from this like image and idea that you have of what you need to do for this relationship. There's a part of this too, maybe, where you feel like the other person is doing well and thriving, so you're like, okay, well, I'm gonna hold back my resources. I'm gonna hold back my time and attention because they're doing so well without me, so I don't need them. So in the book, this card says, this woman has created a fortress around herself, and she is clinging to all the possessions she thinks are her treasures. In fact, she's accumulated so much stuff in which to adorn herself, including the feathers and furs of living creatures. She has made herself ugly in the effort. This card challenges us to look at what we are clinging to and what we feel we possess that is so valuable that needs to be protected by a fortress. It needn't be a big bank balance or a box full of jewels. It could be as simple as sharing our time with a friend, or taking the risk of expressing our love to one another. Like a well that is sealed up and becomes stagnant from disuse, our treasures become tarnished and worthless if we refuse to share them. Whatever you're holding on to, remember that you can't take it with you. Loosen your grip and feel the freedom and expansiveness that sharing can bring. So that's one piece of advice. We have share. I really love this deck, by the way, is Osho Zen Tarot. Osho's he's a bit questionable. He like ran a cult. There's a whole Netflix documentary on it, but I love this deck. The next card we have is Celebration. And this is the 3 of Cups. I feel like this is just celebrate your wins with people. You know, send a message and just say, hey, just popping by. Just want to drop a line and say, you know, things have been going well. This happy thing happened. This happy thing happened. And this cool thing happened. I hope things are well. And it doesn't have to be a whole conversation. It doesn't need to be a phone call. It doesn't need to be anything more. And maybe I'm trying to support this hoarding energy, but you know, I feel like sharing in celebration with your people, and with the people that matter to you. So this card says, these 3 women dancing in the wind and the rain remind us that celebration never need depend on outside circumstance. We need not wait for a special holiday or a formal occasion, nor a sunny or cloudless day. True celebration arises from a joy that is first experienced deep within and spills over into an overflow of song and dance and laughter and, yes, even tears of gratitude. When you've chosen this card, it indicates that you're becoming more and more available and open to the many opportunities that are there to celebrate life in and to spread this contagion to others. Don't bother about scheduling a party on your calendar. Let your hair down, take your shoes off, and start splashing in the puddles right now. The party is happening all around you every moment. And this is saying, I do feel that, like, let yourself be more available. You don't have to. Again, I feel like there's so much burden and obligation that you have in your mind of like, oh, like we have to schedule a call. Just fucking drop a random message. Just drop a random message. Share in that happiness. You don't need to schedule it. Just, celebrate and share that. We have experiencing, which is interesting because it's another 3 as well. It says an experience is something that can be filed away in a notebook or captured in a film and pasted into an album. But experiencing is the feeling of wonder itself, the thrill of communion, the gentle touch of our connectedness with all that surrounds us. The woman in this card is not just touching this tree, she is in communion with it. She has almost become one with it. It is an old tree and has seen many hard times. Her touch is gentle, reverent, and the white of the inside of her cape reflects the purity of her heart. She is humble, simple, and that is the right way to approach nature. Nature doesn't bang any drums when it bursts forth into flower, nor play any dirges when the trees go and let go of their leaves in the fall. But when we approach her in the right spirit, she has many secrets to share. If you haven't heard nature whispering to you lately, now is a good time to give her the opportunity. And I feel like this is gonna help you to make more space in your life, because I feel like you just feel like you don't have space or energy, and you actually do. Yeah, just need to slow down a little bit. And also as well, like when you're approaching these friendships, like going in that gentleness and that desire for communion, to become one. The last card is participation. We have participation in as the last card. And the message of this card from the book says each figure in this mandala holds their right hand up each figure in this mandala holds the right hand up in an attitude of receiving and the left hand down in an attitude of giving. The whole circle creates a tremendous energy field that takes the shape of the double torch, the Tibetan symbol for the thunderbolt. The mandala has a quality like the energy of the field that forms around the Buddha, where all individuals taking part in the circle make a unique contribution to create a unified and vital whole. It is like a flower whose wholeness is even more beautiful than the sum of its parts, at the same time enhancing the beauty of each individual petal. You have an opportunity to participate with others now, to make your contribution to creating something greater and more beautiful than each of you could imagine and manage alone. Your participation will not only nourish you, but will also contribute something precious to the whole. So pile 1, I do feel that there is a meaningful way for you to be nourished by your participation. Please know that your individuality contributes to not just this person's life, but the grandness and wholeness of everything. And sometimes you might want to hide behind a wall. Sometimes you might, fall into this mindset of I'm busy, I don't have enough. But participation is also very nourishing for you. So I hope this makes sense. Participate, reintegrate into this, approach it with a softness. Apologize if you feel like that's what's necessary, because you don't want to lose out on this good connection that is here and has such a well of love for you as well. And that's not to say don't have boundaries, of course. But I do think there's like an outdated way of being in this. So I hope this makes sense. If it does, please let me know. If you would like to participate and nourish yourself in a new and different way, then you can come and check out our Patreon. It is a lovely way to support our growing, lovely community. And each month we actually get together and we do a tarot night, where we all pull our own cards and we self-reflect on the messages of them, and we talk about the themes and the commonalities between each of our lives. It's a really beautiful space. There's currently right now about, between 10 and 20 people that turn up. But you're welcome as well to just look if you want to mute your mic and just listen or just be a part of the energy. That is also completely valid. And you do not have to do your own cards either. I have been moderating that group for a long time, so I do not allow any energy that is like disruptive, disturbing, trollish, or asking for too much of everybody. As a fellow introvert and somebody who really values interconnected spaces, it's so important to be able to be in a group that holds a good space, especially as a highly sensitive. I really understand what it's like to be drained, and I'm seeing parts of myself in this pick a card. Please like the video. I appreciate you so much. If you'd like to check out more of my content, Patreon is a really good option, as well as the tarot group. We also do tons of pick a cards. I teach astrology, I teach energetic hygiene, and you can connect with people who are also on that journey of wanting to connect more and learn more about themselves and their own path. All right, all of the best, pile one. Take care. Bye-bye. Yo, what's up, pile two? I hope you're doing good. So this pile already, I was getting a vibe of like just kind of like a situation where there's like embarrassment and humiliation. You might have gone through something recently where you felt embarrassed, humiliated, rejected, and vulnerable, all vulnerable. And you tried to play it off cool. You tried to keep your calm, make the better decision. And I feel like something has set in now where you are like, oh, that was just really badly handled. And originally this card of I hope I will see you again sometime, that was in reverse. And that just gave me this impression of like, oh God, I really don't want to bump in to this person. I just do not want to face them because I kind of feel like there was some kind of flare up. I don't know if you just mishandled a situation. I think you thought you were doing your best. I think you thought that you were handling this well and that you had done the right thing. You'd done the smart thing. I keep looking at that hat, but he's naked. But it's not just skin, it's like full muscle. And I keep just getting this really deep gut feeling of just humiliation and embarrassment and like, oh God, no, why did I do that? Why did I do that? Oh my gosh. And it might be a situation where you are, I don't know, I feel like you're replaying the situation in your head and you're almost thinking like, oh God, like I bet everybody else loved that. I bet everybody else really enjoyed that I just made a butt of myself, made a fool out of myself. Oh, I hope you're happy for me, And I feel like there's just a big shame cycle happening in you where it's okay to be embarrassed. All right, we all have our emotions. We all have our blow-ups. Sometimes we cannot handle every situation perfectly and precisely and with, having it all together. Sometimes we do not have our shit together. Sometimes we wish we did, but it's just, sometimes we do, but then something slips and we realize we're just a human. And I do think that maybe something else happened after this situation where you went to somebody else and you lied about it too. Maybe to help you feel like your actions were justified. For example, if you got really sensitive or triggered at a comment at a dinner table, you may have overreacted. Your emotions are still valid. Trauma is valid. Shadow work is valid. It's all okay. It happens. But you may have overreacted, stormed off, told them to go fuck themselves. And, you know, when that story starts to pass around of, oh, you know, Stacy, you know, she just walked away from the dinner table. I just told her she had some food in her teeth and she just lost her shit. Because that might be embarrassing, you then may have been like, no, they told me that my teeth are disgusting, to try and salvage your reputation, salvage your sense of self. And I think that you are in a position, it says, I know more than you might think. So I think you felt like you came off as stupid. And I think there's also an awareness of all sides of this going on, of the initial embarrassment, what you did to try to salvage yourself, and now that you are avoiding. And this is where I feel like pile 2 are at. I hope this makes sense, because it's a little bit of a sitch, you know? So I just hope it resonates. We're gonna go a little bit more into like the headspace of where things are. So we have the card of judgment. You felt judged. The King of Coins, you felt like, and I think maybe this is just the initial reaction, right? I don't think this is actually how things were. As in, this is not the full reality. This is more about, we want to validate how you felt. So we have judgment. You felt judged. You felt like this person may have just, I don't know, been like sat on their golden throne, you know, feeling like they're above you or they're an authority on something. And, you didn't like that. Yeah, you have the 10 of Swords. So you felt really defeated, betrayed, backstabbed. And it's interesting because the sword in the King of Coins, like there's a sword just randomly on the ground. And I can't help but then see like the swords impaling this person. And it gives me this vibe that like, this person is just like existing as them, but because you're in a vulnerable place, like you feel like this one thing is like stabbed 10 times and it becomes like this huge deep thing. This just makes me think of like very, very, very deep trauma for you, where this person has touched a wound without realizing. They didn't even see that there's a wound. There's just coins all over the floor. You know, I actually think now I kind of feel more into it, especially with the initial card of having this gentleman's hat. Maybe you act like you have your shit together more than you do. This person may have made a comment that they had no idea that you couldn't handle. You were distraught by it. You were destroyed by it. We have the High Priestess. So it feels like intuitively, maybe this was by a woman as well. Maybe this was by a female in this position though, where it like, you got this vibe that they were like trying to be controlling or an authority on you, when really, you know, they were just trying to give you counsel. They were just trying to give you some advice on something. I also feel like too, your intuition beyond her emotions intuitively, I think you can also start to see where this person is coming from. Then we have the 7 of Swords. Yeah, there's definitely like, maybe you have had issues in the past where you feel like people are out to get you, who are backstabbing you. I remember when I actually pulled this card, it was in reverse, but I'll keep it upright just for the sake of the reading, and for you to be able to see it, because I feel that you are usually a very wise, intuitive person. I can't help but notice how this woman looks like the same woman on this next card. So usually you're a High Priestess. You might be somebody who is very in touch with their own inner world and their own guidance, and a self-reflective and quite composed. But in this issue, you kind of like felt like people were out to get you. And I also think too that, again, this might, because the 7 of Swords is about being caught in a lie, being deceptive. There is, I feel you kind of showed, maybe you showed a bit of a different shade of yourself. You know when people say, oh, you showed your true colors? I did think you showed a a few more shades of yourself, and that doesn't mean you're a terrible person. And I think this is kind of like more human. I think that acting like you have all of your shit together and that your shit doesn't stink, and that you're a fully healed person and you don't have problems, like, that's not true. And I think that there might be a shame and a fear now, like, you don't want to see these people again because you don't, like, then you're gonna have to, like, admit culpability. There's also a vulnerability that I don't think you want to experience. Please reflect on, the paranoia that you have about people being out to get you, pile 2, because I think that this isn't necessarily true. I think that this is a wound that is playing out. Okay? And maybe some of this feels like, oh, I had it's like your intuition has deceived you as well. It's like intuitively, maybe you felt like you made the right move, but actually you're operating from your shadow, from your wounds, and it's not actually pushing you forward or helping you to move forward in a healthy direction. It's actually made you make the wrong call, and that now because of your experience of being unable to show up on your path, right? If you were being pushed into the healthiest, like, decision, you wouldn't feel the amount of shame and humiliation that you do. So please forgive yourself. We have some cards of, like, what to go, where to go from here. But I do just want to send y'all some love if this is what you guys have been going through. Like, that really, really sucks. On the other side, though, the person on the other side of this, they love you unconditionally. This is the other person. So I love you unconditionally. They keep thinking about you. They're like, shit, I hope they're okay. I really hope they're okay. I wish I could take back my words. They are genuinely very sorry. Like, it feels like they triggered you and it was very unintentional. They love you unconditionally. They can't stop thinking about what they did. They're like, oh, crap. I wish I could take back my words. And they do wonder, though, because I think they have their own issues. They all worried, like, okay, well, maybe this person is, like, happier without me. So I'm just going to give them space. Because maybe I do kind of feel that, like, maybe you are wondering, like, well, they haven't reached back out to me. Like, I can't contact them now. And I do feel that they kind of retreated too, maybe, of like, okay, like, I don't know if this person's, like, happier without me. So I'm gonna pull away too, or I'm gonna retreat too. I'm gonna give this person their space. They're the one that kind of, like, flipped out. You're the one that kind of flipped out. So, I'm gonna love you from a distance. I'm gonna, like, hope that you're okay. They wish they could take back what they said. And yeah, it does feel like there's love and there's, like, regret, but also I think this person is, they're a king of coins. Like, they're just gonna try to be mature about this and get on with their life. They're gonna respect your wishes and where you're at. And yeah, we're gonna move into some advice for you. So what's your advice? Okay, we have the outsider. This drop the old mindsets of you being the outsider. I'm gonna read this card from the book because the Osho Zen Tarot does such a good job of painting a picture of what messages really want to come through here. So it says the small child in this card is standing on one side of a gate looking through it. He is so small and so convinced that he cannot get through. He cannot see that the chain holding the gate is not locked. All he has to do is open it. Whenever we feel left out or excluded, it brings up this feeling of being a small, helpless child. It is not surprising. The feeling is deeply rooted in our earliest childhood experiences. That's that trauma I'm talking about, yo. The problem is that because it is so deeply rooted, it plays over and over again like a tape in our lives. You have the opportunity now to stop the tape. Quit tormenting yourself with the ideas that you are somehow not enough to be accepted or included. Recognize that the roots of these feelings are actually in the past and let go of your old pain. It will bring you the clarity to see how you can open the gate and enter that which you most long to become. Again, I think this issue is a very old, very deep emotions that come from the past, from your childhood, and it's replaying now, and it's being passed on to the people that you're going through this with now, but it's not true. I do feel like you're loved and they want to include you. They might not always be able to do it in the way that you want all of the time, but that's reasonable. You know, like it's not really reasonable to expect people to include us 100% our way 100% of the time. The next card we have is letting go. Letting go. So this card says, in this image of lotus leaves in the early morning, we can see in the rippling of the water that one drop has just fallen. It is a precious moment and one that is full of poignancy. In surrendering to gravity and slipping off the leaf, the drop loses its previous identity and joins the vastness of the water below. We can imagine that it must have trembled before it fell, just on the edge between the known and the unknowable. To choose this card is a recognition that something is finished. Something is completing. Whatever it is, a job, a relationship, a home you have loved, anything that might have helped you to define who you are, it is time to let go of it. Allowing any sadness, but not trying to hold on, because something greater is awaiting you. New dimensions are there to be discovered. You are past the point of no return now, and gravity is doing its work. Go with it. It represents liberation. I love that card so much. And I think that this outsider is like an old identity that you carried with you, that you have used sometimes as a way to protect yourself. It's helped you to define yourself, to get to where you've gotten to right now. But I do think that's ready to be let go of. We have the card of intensity. And this says the figure in this card has taken the shape of an arrow, moving with the single pointed focus of one who knows precisely where he's going. He is moving so fast that he has almost become pure energy. But his intensity should not be mistaken for the manic energy that makes people drive their cars crazy at a top speed to get from point A to point B. That kind of intensity belongs to the horizontal world of space and time. This intensity is represented by the Knight of Fire, and it belongs to the vertical world of the present moment. A recognition that now is the only moment that there is, and here is the only space. When you act with the intensity of the Knight of Fire, it is likely to create ripples in the waters around you. Some will feel uplifted and refreshed by your presence, and others may feel threatened or annoyed. But the opinions of others matter little. Nothing can hold you back right now. And this is giving me a message of like, show up and shine. Show up and do you. I think that maybe you did shine at, like you shine when you show up. I mean, we all do in our own way. And I think that sometimes you have had experiences where you think that you're intimidating others, annoying others with your presence. And that is why you get isolated and left out. And it's like, if you were really shining and you're moving with that presence, you do not stop for that type of energy. But it almost feels like, play around with this one, but an excuse to retreat. It feels like an excuse to retreat. Yeah, clinging to the past. This is old energy, ready to be let go of, clinging to the past. There are old ways that other people did they may have very well not liked your energy. They may have very well pointed at you and laughed at you and said you stink because you're different and we don't like you. But you're an adult now and you don't need to continue to live in that wounded child energy. And I also feel like too, these people that you keep feeling rejected by as an adult do not reject you. They literally, I love you unconditionally. They love you unconditionally. like, they're not always going to be like up your ass. They're not always going to be like, yeah, queen 24/7, because like they've got their own lives and their own legacy to create, their own energy to spend in their lives. So I feel like sometimes, like, if you don't feel like you're being totally accepted, actively accepted, you're being like rejected, and that's not true. I just feel like you have a hard time with like passive energy. Like when people are not like fully receiving you, I feel like you're like a very creative person, and a creator, they want to be like absorbed by somebody, and it feels like when people aren't absorbing you, you feel rejected by them. And I guess in a way, yeah, you're right. They are saying, no, like, I can't absorb the fullness of you right now because like I don't really have that space or that energy. And then the idea is that the arrow just keeps on like moving and searching for people who are ready to absorb them. But it doesn't mean that you're being rejected and you're unloved and you shouldn't be friends with these people. And you'll know by your own interactions with them that there are times, like, we literally, it's impossible to expect people to be 100% absorbing of us at all times, because if we're always in our receptive state, like, we couldn't go anywhere in our own lives, because it takes, you know, action energy, you know, an outward energy to get things done. So it's almost like you were wanting to be received by people who were outward facing, and it touched on your wounds. But there might be other things to this that might make more sense to you for your own situation. I'll finish this reading off by reading the part of clinging to the past, because I think you guys will really like it. So it says, the figure has pictured in this card is so preoccupied with clutching the box of memories that they have turned their back on the sparkling champagne glass of blessings available in the here and now. Her nostalgia for the past really makes her a blockhead, and a beggar besides, as we can see from her patched and ragged clothes. She needn't be a beggar, of course, but she is not available to taste the pleasure that life has offered themselves in the present. It's time to face up for the fact that the past is gone, and any effort to repeat it is a sure way to stay stuck in old blueprints that would have you already outgrown if you hadn't been so busy clinging to what you've already been through. Take a deep breath and put the box down, tie it up in a pretty ribbon if you must, and bid it a fond and reverent farewell. Life is passing you by, and you're in danger of becoming an old fossil before your time. And I really like that phrase of, any effort to repeat it is a sure way to stay stuck in old blueprints that you would have already outgrown if you hadn't been so busy clinging to what you have already been through. And I think that's the bottom line. I think it's sometimes just, you know, traumas is sometimes we literally just hold on to what we've been through, and it's so difficult for us to let it go. And, you know, sometimes, you know, we need therapy, bruh. That's why a lot of us need that. I'm in therapy. Yo, we in therapy over here. I'd encourage y'all to go into therapy if you're not. Sometimes we need help to release our past. Sometimes we need to be able to feel this inner child in us and recognize these themes throughout our lives that continue to repeat, and let it go and find a new way to look at life and show up in the way that we want to, and not feel so sensitive to how we're being received. I hope this pile made sense, pile 2. Thank you so much for your time. If you would like to check out more of my content, I upload pick-a cards like this over on my Patreon. There's a really, really lovely, wholesome community who are all actively healing themselves, self-reflecting, and just being amazing. And if you'd like to join us, I would love that. I would love to have you as part of our little community that's growing. We do tarot nights every month where we gather, we reflect, and we share the themes of what we're healing and what we're working through right now. It's hosted by me and a good friend called D Dandy, or D Art of Soul. She's an amazing content creator. And we hang out. It's really awesome. If you are new here and you've never met me before, I do hope this resonates, and it's really nice to meet you, and I'm glad that you found us. Don't forget to hit subscribe and hit that like button. If you don't know me as well, I am an astrologer, I'm an intuitive reader, and I read cards live for people over on the platform of Twitch. It's a beautiful community we have. We also play games and chill. If you're into internet culture, I think you will like us. But if you're just into your healing and spiritual journey, then I'd recommend you checking out the Patreon and the YouTube. But yeah, guys, take care, Pile 2. I'm sending you lots of love and healing. And do not forget that you are loved unconditionally. And it's okay for you to maybe admit that you're not as strong as you thought you were. And come in waving the white flag of surrender and say, I'm sorry, y'all, for acting up. I just had some shit. We all go through it. There is no exceptions to the rule of life sometimes, okay? All right, peace and love, Pile 2. Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye. Yo, what's up, Pile 3? I hope you guys are doing good. The pile and the cards that I got for you firstly started out with the effigy, which gave me the sense of this like mysterious, uncomfortable thing that keeps recurring in your life. And it kind of feels a little bit like you're cursed. You might follow the beliefs of literally being magically cursed, but I feel like this is more of an uneasy, uncomfortable phenomena that you go through. And you didn't imagine this. You really got intuitive hits about this. You got the card of next time I will listen to my intuition. Paired with the card of you didn't imagine it, makes me feel that you, in a relationship recently, you had like intuitive hunches. You've had, these feelings. And I do feel that Pile 3, you guys may have had an issue with rushing relationships or going through an experience where you feel very strongly for somebody without really knowing them. And then as things progress, like you might get some hunches and red flags and like just a feeling that you brush off out of hope for things being different. And then when things don't turn out so great and the relationship isn't what you thought it was, you realize that you don't really know the person, and you feel it is kind of like uncomfortable. You're kind of happy that the situation is over with. At least this person like showed you their true colors. At least you are out of that now. I can't help but shake the sense that like you had this as a repeating issue. You thought that you'd gotten over it and that you'd kind of you learned not to like fall for people so quickly. This isn't just for romantic. This is also friendships as well. It's that kind of like Pisces fantasy energy of like rose tinted glasses and like getting an idealized view of how somebody is or how a relationship is. And I think that you then have these like rude wake up calls, and it is very like Pisces Neptune energy. Like Neptune and Pisces rule unconditional love, but it's also like it can be like a rude awakening too. If you imagine how Neptune is like delusional energy and kind of living in its own fantasy bubble, well, it also rules things when the bubble gets popped. Like, how do you respond when the bubble gets popped? And sometimes that can go into like grief, loss, despair, complete hopelessness, and that same side of the same scale of you being, just like, this is my soulmate, this is like a fated connection, this feels really good, I just want to like lose myself in this relationship because it feels so nice. The reverse can also happen of like, oh my God, now this relationship's gone. I have no purpose. I have no meaning. I have no worth. I'm hopeless. I'm terrible. And like life just seems like the inverse of what you experience with them, or also just how you felt like your life was. This can be not just about your relationships, but I feel like there's been a phase where you really just felt like life was really going your way, and then suddenly it's just been like, uh-oh, there's a lot that I overlooked here. And I feel with the we're gearing this reading more towards relationships. I feel that you are learning to listen to your intuition when it comes to people, but also in the same respect, acknowledging that sometimes like you really don't know the full story. Like you don't always have all of the information. And that also includes if your intuition tells you something, like sometimes I do think like that can be our fear. Like if you find yourself, you know, being like, my intuition is, you know, saying that you're bad, you know, like you're this type of person. Like sometimes you really don't know people. You really don't know the full story about them or why you're getting the hunch that you're getting. And I think sometimes it's good for you to slow down and recognize, like, you know, you might get an intuition, like a genuine hunch of like, okay, it's not ideal for me to get close to this person right now. Like I can feel that there's just something not fully right about this just yet. And that's all it needs to be. It doesn't then need you to fill that in with what you think that this person feels or thinks about you and start fleshing out this person that you don't even know. And that includes that also applies to in a positive sense, you know, like just because you intuitively feel that someone's like a good or even great like match for you, and you guys are on the same wavelength, like you still, if you don't know this person and you don't know them, like unless you have really sincerely spent like years around this person and asking them questions and like you have a close relationship, you really do not know, and you don't know these people. And that is what pile 3 is all about. But this is refreshing for you to be reminded of, because you have the card of, I'm happy that that's over. You have been working through this cycle for a while, and you do just want it to be over with. I also think you are happy as well, like when these relationships, whether you have idealized them and they've not worked out, like I feel like you're happy when they end, like, because it's almost like you don't really realize the situation you've gotten into until the relationship collapses. So I'm gonna pull more cards into just exactly like where you're at to flesh this out more. So okay, Ace of Cups. So this is like you're wanting connection, you're wanting to start a relationship, you're wanting to nurture things, you want an emotional connection, you want to nurture a person, you want to nurture maybe even each other, but this is the Ace of Cups, so it's more coming from you. It's your feelings. You have a desire to feel. And then we have the Four of Swords, which in this deck kind of gives me this vibe of like you thought that this relationship issue that you'd experienced in the past was kind of over. And there are these demon arms coming out from under the bed. And it makes me feel like, you know, you were sleeping on this issue. Like you thought you were past it. You thought you were kind of like safe to relax and not really pay attention maybe to your intuition or like look at certain signs. And then it's kind of like sneaked up on you. You have the Seven of Cups. So this is very like that fantasy energy where I do think this is where I like the energy of like being confused about where you stand with somebody. And maybe there's been a situation, pile 3 recently, where you had been connecting more with somebody and then suddenly all of these issues you thought you dealt with, whether it's also your own like insecurities because you don't feel, you have trust issues. I'm hearing like trust issues where you don't feel safe. And when you start to feel confused about where you stand with somebody, then like panic ensues. I feel like there's a panic. Yeah, three of Swords is the next card. This is literally somebody getting staked. Like the relationship is ending, or there's like some kind of panic and a desire to try to get rid of or axe out the parts of the relationship that don't serve, or even just the entire relationship itself, depending on your reactions. And it's interesting too, because I think on another side of this is where like you've been developing feelings, like genuine feelings of kinship with somebody. Issues that you thought were over kind of come creeping up on you, and then you've kind of been none the wiser until the other person has ended the relationship on you. Again, this is a general reading, so I do feel there's a spectrum here that this is covering, with one end or like the other, and then sometimes somewhere in between or both. Because I feel in this as well that like some of you, again, very idealistic, like loving, giving people who kind of keep making the mistake of giving to the wrong people, committing too fast, not taking your time with the relationship. And then when you're in fantasy land, none the wiser, suddenly the relationship gets axed off on their end, or they're ghosting you, or they're not talking to you anymore. And you're like, wait a minute, what the hell? And then we have the Three of Wands in reverse, which gives me this feeling of like being insecure. I think there's some judgment of like you expected yourself to have grown past this, but you haven't. You don't know how to move forwards with it as well. The Three of Wands usually is about feeling self-assured and being able to expand and move forwards and initiate new projects, start new things. But in reverse, this is like, oh, like I keep just repeating the same shit. And it's making me feel like insecure and doubt. Like it's making you doubt yourself. And this is the situation. Now, the next cards are the thoughts of the other person on the other side. So their thoughts, I know I messed up everything. I replay our conversations over and over. You and I were too young. This might be a very, very past relationship. I wonder if too, there's an element here of a past relationships dynamics and hurt are replaying in a current relationship, and it's actually like past energy playing out. I wonder if there was some kind of like argument that you had with somebody. Maybe you were trying to help somebody and it backfired as well. I also think too, like in with this, I know I messed everything up card. I feel in their heart of hearts, they feel like they should have communicated with you a little bit more about their boundaries, a little bit more about where they were coming from or where they were at. And they sometimes like replay the conversation that you have had with them, and they have regret about, oh crap, like I can see how when I said this, I was giving this impression, or when you may have asked them for reassurance, there was an opportunity there for them to express like where they were at about their relationship, and they didn't. And they write this off as you guys being like immature. I don't feel like this is like correct for every single person in pile 3 though. Those that resonates with, I feel like this card is saying like that this other person is kind of sometimes has the mindset of like, oh, we're both just young, and it's like trying to avoid accountability of how they did contribute to the mess of like the relationship. Like they aren't really taking accountability. So, you know, we both, you know, both of you people, you know, we have our immature moments at times. But I do feel that some of you in pile 3, like you were very, very open and mature enough to handle this conversation, to diffuse it. You'd be able to take the L. You'd be able to take it if they said like, hey, I don't think like I'm ready for this type of commitment or this type of conversation or this type of relationship. And you could have been like, okay, like, thank you for letting me know that. I'm gonna move, like, you know, I can move on. I can work with that. You know, I can take that information and I can work with that in my own life. But the thing is, they didn't do that. They did not do that. And you, like, they are subconsciously at least aware that you are a good person, and that they kind of like didn't they hurt you, and they kind of know that they've hurt you. And with this, I know I messed up everything. Like, I think that they know that they were kind of like a bigger part of the issue here as well. But this is the thing, you know, this is not like they did everything, because, you know, there was intuitive messages that you got that you ignored. The last card of their thoughts is, my life is not together as it seems. So, and I think you need to hear this one, because sometimes like you feel like you're just getting rejected, maybe just based on like you not being good enough. And it really is not that. This other person in this connection, like, they do not have their shit together. It is, their life is not as together as they make it look to everybody else. So when you asked for this like level of commitment or relationship, like, you thought that they were ready, but again, you do not know this person as well as you think you do. With the other cards that we had earlier, of like, you really don't know this person. And even their own thoughts is, their life is not together as it seems. And I think sometimes I do get the impression that they put on a bit of a show of like their life. And maybe even now, as you guys have pulled away from the relationship, if that's where the relationship's at, you might watch how they are, you know, oh, having fun, haha, and like, you know, flirting with other people, or seeming like they're fine, they're just returning to work and getting back to it. But their life is not as together as they are making it out to be. And just know as well that like they, like, I don't know, I just keep getting this message, like, you thought they could handle this conversation. Of course my mic did a weird cut out. You thought they were ready to have a conversation. You thought you were ready to have a particular conversation with this person, and you weren't either. And I feel like this applies to you both. Like, sometimes, like, I think, you know, it can apply to both of this person's life isn't what you thought it was. You thought they could handle a conversation because of the way that they made themselves out to be, the way they made their life out to be, and it's just simply not true. And possibly as well, on the other side, maybe you thought you were ready for a certain type of conversation, and you realized maybe afterwards that like, okay, you know what? I don't want these emotionally overloaded conversations with people anymore, when like either I don't really know them, it's been a while. There's just a lot of like vibes like that. Let's get into some cards of what you guys can do about this. Some advice from spirit of like how you can heal, how can you move on from this? Okay, so we have the card of isolation. It did originally come out in reverse, and I'm gonna read this from the book because it's so good how it gives advice, in my opinion. So it says, in our society, men in particular have been taught not to cry, to put on a brave face on things when they get hurt and not show that they are in pain. But women can fall into this trap too. And all of us at one time or another might feel like the only way to survive is to close off our feelings and emotions so that we cannot be hurt again. If our pain is particularly deep, we might even try to hide it from ourselves. This can make us frozen, rigid, because deep down we know that one small break in that ice will free the hurt and it will start circulating through us again. The rainbow-colored tears on the person's face holds the key to breaking out of this isolation. The tears, and only the tears, have the power to melt the ice. It's okay to cry, and there's no reason to feel ashamed of your tears. Crying helps us to let go of pain, allow us to be gentle with ourselves, and finally helps us to heal. So some advice. With it being in reverse, I want to say, please don't isolate yourself. The thing here isn't for you to shut down, shut off. I'm not gonna feel again. This is encouraging you to cry, to feel, because I think that's the only way for you to let go of this. And I think too, there is some previous hurts that you still carry of people that you deeply, truly loved that walked out on you, abandoned you, or that you just couldn't have in your life anymore for whatever reason. And it hurts. It really hurts. And I think that you may have frozen that over and it's like started to circulate again because of this experience. Whether it's literally within the same like dynamic, it's like the same relationship that caused the hurt in the first place is circulating the hurt again, or if it's something from the past coming into the future or the present. But the main thing here is to let yourself feel. Crying will help you to let go of the pain, and it will allow you to heal. And keeping an eye where you're not falling into that self-pity and that hopelessness and loss, thinking that you won't ever be able to have good relationships or a good relationship, because that's not true. The next card we have is the Dream. Oh my gosh, I love this card so much. It's not, I don't mean I love it in like oh, this is a lovely card. It really called me out on some patterns that I had in regards to relationships. So I hope this one resonates with you. I'm just trying to find it in my little book. If you guys are liking this card deck, by the way, it's called the Osho Zen Tarot, and it's absolutely lovely. So the Dream, it says, some enchanted evening, you're going to meet your soulmate, the perfect person who will meet all of your needs and fulfill all of your dreams. Right? Wrong. This fantasy that songwriters and poets are so fond of perpetuating has its roots in memories of the womb, where we were secure and at one with our mothers. It's no wonder we have hankered to return to that place all of our lives. But to put it quite brutally, it's a childish dream, and it's amazing we hang on to it so stubbornly in the face of reality. Nobody, whether it's your current mate or some dreamed of partner in the future, has any obligation to deliver your happiness on a platter, nor could they, even if they wanted to. Real love comes not from trying to solve our neediness by depending on another, but by developing our own inner richness and maturity. Then we have so much love to give that we naturally draw lovers towards us. And I'm gonna actually read the second section of this card because I find it so fascinating. And maybe this is because I'm a Neptune Venus conjunct and just a Pisces sun, but I remember pulling this card for myself and it really kind of ripped off a inner band-aid I didn't realize I had. It says, this has been said again and again through and through the ages. All the religious people have been saying, we come alone into this world and we go alone. All togetherness is illusionary. The very idea of togetherness arises because we are alone and the aloneness hurts. We want to drown our aloneness in a relationship. That's why we become so much involved in love. Try to see the point. Ordinarily, you think you have fallen in love with a woman or with a man because she's beautiful and he is beautiful, but that's not the truth. The truth is just the opposite. You have fallen in love because you cannot be alone. You are going to fall. You are going to avoid yourself somehow or another. And there are people who don't fall in love with men and women, they fall in love with money. They start moving into money or into a power trip, they become politicians. That is too avoiding your aloneness. If you watch yourself deeply, you'll be surprised. All of your activities can be reduced to one single source. The source is that you're afraid of your aloneness. Everything else is just an excuse. The real cause is that you find yourself very alone. And I wish he gives more advice, like, how are you supposed to solve that? But I think it's very, like, Osho's teachings are very, like, confrontational. Some of them are a lot more smoother and a lot more softer, but I do feel that for you guys, like, this is saying, like, it's so important for you to find your happiness in who you actually are and in yourself, so that you have love to give and to share and you're in abundance of it. You're not dreaming of, a fantasy of this ideal or a person to come sweep you off your feet or for you to sweep them off their feet. This is about being realistic about your relationships. And I do sense there's like a quality of like recognizing the inner child in how you want to go about your relationships. Then the next card is slowing down. Because I do think there is room for dreaminess and play in relationships, but I do feel pile 3 that this is a very dominant factor in how you go about relationships, and the ones that end up hurting you, this is because this card is so like heavy into that is that it's that dream energy of that neediness and not wanting to be alone. And that's why it's so painful when these things don't work out. And I wouldn't be surprised if the relationship that this pile 3 is talking about is one where you really wanted to feel a lot closer. You wanted to merge with this person. You wanted to just become closer, and it did not work out the way that you wanted it to at all. So the next card is slowing down. I'm just going to find this in my little book because I feel like the book can just give it way more justice than I can. We have it slowing down. So it says the Knight of Rainbows is a reminder that just like the tortoise, we carry our home wherever we go. There is no need to hurry. There's no need to seek shelter elsewhere. Even if we move through the depths of our emotional waters, we can remain self-contained and free from attachments. It is a time when you are ready to let go of any expectations you have had about yourself or other people, and to take responsibility for any illusions you might have been carrying. There is no need to do anything but rest in the fullness of who you are right now. If desires and hopes and dreams are fading away, so much the better. Their disappearance is making space for a new quality of stillness and acceptance of what is. And you are able to welcome this development in a way that you have never been able to before. Savor this quality of slowing down and of coming to rest and recognizing that you are already at home. I love that so much. That speaks so hard. And I do feel that like dropping the illusion is this right here. I think I ended up pulling a couple of cards for you guys, a little bit more than normal. And I remember this was the base card of things. It was innocence. And I feel like a lot of this hurt cycle you've been in with your relationships has come purely from just innocence. It really has been just from this sweet, innocent child place. And I think that's maybe that's why I pulled extra cards. I'm just like, I'm sorry the inner child of pile 3, because I would love for you guys to have this, you know, connection and love that you so deeply long for. But it's not outside of yourself. It is not outside of yourself. It's waiting to be discovered inside of you. And I think if you take the advice of what we spoke about, I think that's really going to help empower you and help you to move deeper into your own life. The last card we have is Rebirth. It says this card depicts the evolution of consciousness as described by Friedrich Nietzsche in his book, Okay, I'm not going to be able to read that. He speaks of the 3 levels of camel, lion, and child. The camel is sleepy, dull, self-satisfied. He lives in delusion, thinking he's a mountain peak, but really he is so concerned with the opinions of others that he hardly has any energy of his own. Emerging from the camel is a lion, where we realize we've been missing life. We start saying no to the demands of others. We move out of the crowd, alone and proud, roaring our truth. But this is not the end. Finally, the child emerges, neither acquiescent nor rebellious, but innocent and spontaneous, true to his own being. Whatever the space you're in right now, sleepy and depressed, roaring and rebellious, be aware that it will evolve into something new if you allow it. It is a time of change and growth. And I really like how the child is neither acquiescent or rebellious, but innocent and spontaneous, true to his own being. You are a lover. You have love in your heart. This is not about you shutting down and being a different type of person. But this is about moving in a way that's true to yourself and towards the people that can receive it. And I think that sometimes you have such a deep desire to merge with another that you focus all of yourself into one place. And I feel like that is where the standard is kind of like flawed for you, where it's like, no, just spread it amongst as many people as you can in small ways that's authentic to you. Releasing attachment, I think, is super important. We had that with the slowing down card as well. Releasing the attachments to things, being free from attachments, just being you. And as you do that, you'll learn to fall in love with your own essence. And as you fall in love with your own essence and fall in love with yourself, you emanate and give that love, which naturally then attracts partners that work with you. And things then don't change up and become a game of, oh, this one person's interested in me now. Okay, time to change up our way of existing, and let's change the channel to just stream one source of love into this one person because now I found my partner. No, your essence is actually very like open and to share to multiple people, and that's in any way you want to interpret it. I just don't start, tweaking things up, because I think there's a thing too that I'm sensing in this relationship where, you had it with the listen to your intuition, was sometimes it was like, oh, maybe this relationship needs boundaries. Like, I love this person and I want to give to this person, but I can't give that. This doesn't feel good to give that. Or, hang on, maybe I should pull back a bit. And this is saying like, that is your nature. Still just telling you to say, hey, let's balance this. But I think there's a lot of ideas and ideals that you hold that's like overrides your intuition. I hope pile 3, I really hope this makes sense. I'm new to kind of like doing AoE messages, which is a gamer term for area of effect. I'm new to doing collective readings, but I really do hope this makes sense. I'm not new to doing collective readings on Patreon. I read for my Patreon community all the time, and I'm like, yes, I know who these people are, and I know that this makes sense to specific people. But when it comes to YouTube, and I'm like, some of you, I don't know you, I do get a little bit like, I hope this makes sense. So let me know if it does. If you like this video, if you resonate with the messages, if you find them helpful, then please subscribe, please drop a like if you would love to see some more of my content. And if you just want to feel a bit generous, you want to support my content, you can go check out Patreon. If you're interested in getting a one-to-one reading from me, this is my style of reading. When I work with people one-to-one, we can go so much deeper. There is so much more context that I can actually work with, and you can do that and buy a reading on Coffee. So yeah, if you're new, hello, nice to meet you. And if you're returning as well, I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you for supporting my content, and I hope this reading supports you. All right, I'm gonna head out. Take care. Take care, everyone. And my favorite part where we get to thank all of the Patreon pledges: Maxi Boy, Samwise, Jessie Lucy, Megatalica, Loke, Foul, Valkyrie, Sweet Harmony, Jellomang, Val, Dot Gonzo, KJ Chameleon, Romtine, Immortal Frog, Broccoli, Kashi, Valerie, Asta, Reno, Rune Galexia, Hey Jess, Malort, and Stablix Fair, The Nib, The Dandy, Enki, Jeremiah, Sweet Disaster, Relaxo, Warren, Walter, V, Intuition, Stereo Knight, Drunken Hunter, and Angel Eyes. If you're interested in becoming a part of our Patreon fam, go click the links in the description. We also do an amazingly beautiful deep dive astrology group that's over on Patreon as well. If you're interested in taking your astrology and your self-development to the next level, it's a super wholesome, lovely group. But all the best, guys. Thank you. So much love. Thank you.